My monster-in-law, Camila, presented me with divorce papers at my very own anniversary party, anticipating tears and pleas for reconciliation. Instead, I met her venom with a serene smile and a simple, thank you. The opulent ballroom fell into stunned silence. What Camila, in her arrogance, didn't comprehend was that I was secretly a billionaire, Elizabeth Hartford, and I had meticulously, legally dismantled her family's financial empire. Game over, Camila. Exactly 1 year ago, everyone around me believed I was making the biggest mistake of my life when I married Oliver Thompson. But standing here, bathed in the light of countless crystal chandeliers, draped in a red gown that could buy a small fleet of cars, and holding divorce papers tied with a deceptively elegant silver bow, I can confidently declare that marrying Oliver wasn't the error. Trusting his viperous mother was. Allow me to set the stage for this evening's charade. Imagine a ballroom dripping with extravagance, crystal chandeliers, each one a masterpiece worth more than the average suburban home, suspended from towering ceilings. A live orchestra, tucked discreetly in a corner, serenading the city's social elite with classical melodies. Champagne flowed freely, an endless golden river, as 300 of the city's most influential figures gathered to celebrate what they believed to be my blissful first wedding anniversary. Sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it? Only, the entire affair was orchestrated by my husband's mother, Camila Thompson. And Camila, bless her heart, has never extended a gesture towards me from a place of genuine affection. A shiver of unease should have run down my spine the moment I entered the ballroom. Camila, brazenly, wore white, not cream, not ivory, but a stark, unadulterated white, as if she were the bride renewing her vows. She moved through the crowd like royalty, basking in the adoration, barking orders at the staff, ensuring everyone understood that this extravagant spectacle was her creation, her triumph. Oliver, predictably, stood at her side like a well-trained golden retriever, nodding vacantly at her every pronouncement. That's my husband, ladies and gentlemen, I thought, a bitter amusement twisting my lips. 32 years old and still utterly incapable of defying mommy. The party was in full swing when Camila, with theatrical flair, tapped her champagne glass with a silver spoon, demanding everyone's undivided attention. My stomach plummeted. I knew that look on her face, that smug, victorious gleam in her eyes. I'd witnessed it countless times over the past year, each instance marking another carefully orchestrated humiliation. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced, her voice dripping with a sickly sweet saccharin. I have a very special gift for my darling daughter-in-law on this momentous occasion. The orchestra abruptly ceased its performance. The room became eerily quiet. A spotlight materialized from the darkness, focusing its intense beam directly on me. I felt the weight of 300 pairs of eyes boring into my soul. Camila, her face radiating a perverse joy, approached me holding an exquisitely wrapped silver box, adorned with a pristine white bow. She was practically glowing with self-satisfied anticipation. Open it, dear, she cooed, her voice amplified for the benefit of the entire room. This is something truly special. My hands, surprisingly, remained steady as I accepted the box. I could feel its ominous weight, could sense the impending storm. Nevertheless, I proceeded, slowly untying the bow, carefully lifting the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of pristine white silk, were divorce papers, notarized, dated, and ready for my signature. A collective gasp rippled through the room like a tidal wave. Someone, in their shock, dropped their champagne glass. I heard the shattering sound, heard the whispers erupting like a wildfire. Camila's smile widened into a grotesque mask of cruelty and triumph. Happy anniversary, dear, she purred, her voice amplified by the strategically placed microphones. Yes, she had, with malicious forethought, invited the media to witness my public execution. You're free now, free to return to whatever backwater you crawled out of. This was it. This was her grand finale, the culmination of a year-long campaign of torment. Camila had dedicated the past 12 months to making my life a living hell, treating me like a servant, branding me as a gold digger who had ensnared her precious son. She'd forced me to clean, cook, and serve drinks at family gatherings while simultaneously informing anyone who would listen that I was a nobody, that I came from nothing, and that I had only married Oliver for his money. And now, in front of 300 witnesses and a phalanx of cameras, she was publicly discarding me like yesterday's trash. Everyone expected me to crumble, to dissolve into tears, to flee the ballroom in hysterical sobs. I could see it reflected in their faces, that unsettling cocktail of pity and morbid fascination. Even Oliver, shamefaced, avoided my gaze, but not ashamed enough to intervene, to shield me from his mother's venom. Instead, I smiled. Not a pathetic, tearful smile, not a brittle, fake smile, but a genuine, radiant smile that reached my eyes. I looked Camila directly in the eyes and said, "Thank you, Camila, this is exactly what I needed." The utter confusion on her face was priceless, a masterpiece of bewildered rage. The room transitioned from shocked gasps to an almost palpable silence. You could have heard a pin drop on the polished marble floor. Camila's smile wavered, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. What do you mean?" she stammered, her voice betraying her carefully constructed composure. I meticulously placed the divorce papers back in their box and set it on the nearest table. "All in good time," I said calmly, my voice carrying an undercurrent of steel. "Let's not ruin the party you worked so diligently to plan. Please, everyone, continue celebrating." I turned and walked away from her, the rhythmic clicking of my heels on the marble floor echoing through the silent ballroom, leaving her standing there, looking panicked for the first time since I'd met her. The orchestra, bewildered, tentatively resumed playing, but the party was effectively dead. Guests huddled in hushed groups, whispering, staring, attempting to decipher the meaning of the scene that had just unfolded. Camila, desperately trying to regain control, laughed too loudly, attempting to convince people that it was all a misunderstanding, a harmless prank. But I could see the cracks forming in her carefully constructed facade. She kept glancing at me nervously as I calmly sipped champagne and engaged in polite conversation with guests, as if nothing of consequence had occurred. Oliver attempted to approach me twice. I deliberately turned away both times. He no longer deserved my attention. You see, there was something Camila didn't know. Something that no one in that room suspected, with the exception of my lawyer, who was discreetly positioned by the bar, pretending to be just another guest. Let me reveal to you my true identity. I am not simply Elizabeth, the poor, insignificant nobody from nowhere. I am Elizabeth Hartford. My father is Jonathan Hartford, the founder and CEO of Hartford Technologies. You might have heard of it. It's only worth a paltry $8 billion. My father built a tech empire from the ground up, starting with nothing but an idea and relentless determination. And I am his only child, his sole heir. When I met Oliver 2 years ago, I was weary. Weary of men who saw only dollar signs when they looked at me. Weary of superficial friendships and insincere smiles. So I took a drastic measure. I concealed my identity. I accepted a mundane position as a marketing manager at a mid-level firm, rented a modest apartment, drove an unassuming car. I craved to be loved for myself, not for my father's vast fortune. Oliver seemed different, initially, kind, attentive, genuine. We fell in love, or at least I believed I did. He proposed after 6 months, and I accepted. I dared to hope that I could have a normal marriage with someone who loved me for who I was on the inside. Then I met Camila. From our very first encounter, she regarded me as if I were a stain on her pristine Persian rug. So, Elizabeth, she'd said, her voice dripping with thinly veiled disdain. Oliver tells me you work in marketing. How quaint. The way she delivered the word made it sound as if I scrubbed toilets for a living. And it only escalated from there. She forced me to serve at family dinners while she held court like a queen. She criticized my clothes, my opinions, my culinary efforts. Once, I labored for 6 hours preparing a traditional family recipe for Sunday dinner. She took a single bite, contorted her face in disgust, and threw the entire plate into the trash, right in front of me. Inedible, she declared. This is why poor people shouldn't attempt to cook for their betters. I endured it all because I loved Oliver. I desperately clung to the hope that he would eventually stand up for me, defend me, choose me over his mother's constant cruelty. But he never did. He would simply offer platitudes like, that's just how mother is, or, try not to take it personally, or my personal favorite, she'll warm up to you eventually. She never did. Instead, she grew increasingly hostile. 3 months ago, everything changed irrevocably. I was returning from the kitchen at their palatial mansion when I overheard voices emanating from the study. The door was slightly ajar, and I immediately recognized Camila's voice. 1 year is enough, Oliver, she was saying, her voice laced with icy calculation. Divorce her. I've already identified a more suitable match for you. Catherine Wellington. Remember her from the country club? Her father owns half the commercial real estate in the city. My blood ran cold. I pressed myself against the wall, straining to hear every word. But mother, Oliver protested. And God. Even his voice sounded weak and ineffectual. I do care for her. Care? Camila retorted, her laugh harsh and devoid of warmth. Oliver, darling, she has nothing. No family of any consequence, no money, no connections. The Thompson Empire requires a proper heir's wife, not some insignificant nobody playing dress-up. We'll throw her an anniversary party, make it a public spectacle, present her with divorce papers and be done with it. Clean, simple, and humiliating enough to ensure she won't contest it. There was a long, pregnant pause. Then Oliver said, in a tone of utter resignation, if you think it's best, mother, if you think it's best. Not, I love my wife. Not, that's unbelievably cruel. Just, if you think it's best. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream or throw things or confront them. Instead, I returned to my modest apartment, the one Oliver assumed was all I could afford, and I made a phone call. Hi, Dad, I said when my father answered. I need to tell you something, and then I need your help. My father was incandescent with rage when I recounted the events of the evening. He wanted to obliterate the Thompsons immediately, publicly, and with maximum pain. But I managed to convince him to allow me to handle it my way. Give me 3 months, I pleaded. Just give me 3 months to orchestrate this properly. He reluctantly agreed. And then he placed his entire legal team and financial advisors at my disposal. What Camila didn't realize, what no one suspected, was that the Thompson Empire was built on a foundation of sand. They projected an image of wealth and success with their mansion, their expensive cars, and their lavish parties. But it was all smoke and mirrors. They were drowning in debt. The manufacturing company, which had been in the family for 3 generations, had been hemorrhaging money for years. Their real estate portfolio was mortgaged to the hilt. Oliver's trust fund was managed by a company that was on the verge of collapse. They were one bad quarter away from bankruptcy, and they had been desperately concealing it behind credit cards, loans, and Camila's sheer force of will. So I bought them. Not directly, of course, but through a complex network of shell companies and investment firms, utilizing my father's vast network of financial connections. Over the course of 3 months, I systematically acquired every debt they owed, every mortgage they held, every failing business they clung to. I purchased the company that managed Oliver's trust fund. I bought the commercial real estate they believed they owned. When their bank was poised to foreclose on their beloved mansion, I bought the mortgage. By the time Camila was meticulously planning my humiliation party, I owned everything. The Thompson family simply hadn't realized it yet. And that very hotel where we were celebrating our anniversary, I purchased it last week. The staff taking orders from Camila were now, in fact, working for me. Even the lawyer standing by the bar, casually sipping whiskey, was mine. So, when Camila presented me with those divorce papers in front of 300 people and a throng of cameras, expecting me to crumble, I smiled because I knew what was coming next. The party continued, awkwardly, for another 20 minutes. Camila, unable to contain herself any longer, pulled me aside into a private room off the main ballroom. The instant the door closed behind us, her mask of civility vanished completely. You think you're something special? She hissed, her face inches from mine. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. Some pathetic little nobody who got lucky and trapped my son. I merely regarded her calmly. Is that all, Camila? I never wanted you in this family, she continued, her voice rising in pitch. You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. Oliver deserves better. Someone with class, with breeding, with money, not some pathetic little gold digger who probably orchestrated this entire charade. The irony was almost unbearable. Sign those papers and disappear, Camila demanded, or I'll make the rest of your life a living hell. You think this past year was bad? I'm just getting started. I tilted my head, studying her. Are you finished? Her face flushed crimson. Why aren't you crying? Why aren't you begging? Because unlike you, Camila, I don't need to beg for anything. I turned and walked towards the door, then paused. You might want to return to the party. I have an announcement to make. The confusion etched on her face was exquisite, but she followed me out, likely assuming I was finally about to crack, to break down and provide her with the satisfaction she craved. I walked directly to the small stage where the orchestra had been performing. I took the microphone from the startled bandleader. The room fell silent once more. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, my voice clear and unwavering, I have an announcement to make. Camila rushed towards me, panic flickering in her eyes. What are you doing? I ignored her. First, I want to express my gratitude to my dear mother-in-law for this wonderful anniversary gift. I held up the box containing the divorce papers. A few nervous titters rippled through the crowd. Camila believed she was banishing me from the Thompson family tonight. She believed I was a poor, insignificant gold digger, someone who didn't belong in her world. Camila's face was turning an alarming shade of purple. Oliver had gone deathly pale. But what Camila doesn't know, I paused, allowing the tension to build to an almost unbearable level, is that I am Elizabeth Hartford. My father is Jonathan Hartford of Hartford Technologies. The reaction was immediate and electric. Gasps, shouts. The frantic rustling as phones were produced to capture the unfolding drama. Someone near the back yelled, "The Hartford Technologies?" Camila's face drained from purple to a ghostly white in an instant. That's right, I continued calmly. And for the past 3 months, while Camila was meticulously planning this delightful humiliation party, I've been rather busy myself. I've been acquiring her family's empire. The screens behind me flickered to life. My tech specialist had been awaiting my signal. Legal documents, acquisition papers, deed transfers, all displayed in crisp, clear detail for everyone to see. The Thompson Manufacturing Company. I now own 68% of the shares. Camila made a strangled, choking sound. Your commercial real estate portfolio was foreclosed upon and purchased by Hartford Holdings 3 weeks ago. This very hotel where we are standing, I bought it last Tuesday. I looked directly at Oliver. Your trust fund, Oliver? The management company is now wholly owned by Hartford Financial Services. That's mine too. Then I turned my full attention to Camila. And your mansion, Camila? The one you cherish so dearly? The bank was about to foreclose because you've missed 4 mortgage payments. I bought that mortgage. I own your home. Camila screamed. Actually screamed. A primal sound of rage and disbelief. That's impossible. You're lying. This is all lies. My lawyer stepped forward, carrying a heavy briefcase. He opened it calmly and began distributing physical copies of the documents to the nearest guests. It's all legal and verified, Mrs. Thompson. Your family has been operating on unsustainable debt for approximately 7 years. Miss Hartford's acquisitions were all conducted legally and ethically. You witch! Camila lunged at me. Hotel security. My hotel security intercepted her, gently but firmly. You planned this. You trapped my son. This is fraud. I remained perfectly composed. No, Camila. I fell in love with your son. I would have given him everything. My whole heart, my whole life. I didn't need his money because I have my own. I simply wanted love and respect. The room was utterly silent except for Camila's ragged breathing. But you, I continued. You tortured me for a year. You made me feel worthless. You branded me a gold digger while you were drowning in debt. You humiliated me for being poor while spending money you didn't have. You criticized my background, my education, my worth as a human being. And all because you're a miserable woman who controls people through fear and money that isn't even real. Oliver finally found his voice. Elizabeth, I didn't know. You didn't know I was rich? I interrupted. Or didn't know your mother was bankrupting your family? Because I'm not sure which is worse, Oliver. He couldn't answer. His silence spoke volumes. Camila collapsed into a chair, hyperventilating. Someone offered her water. The guests were recording everything, the downfall of a socialite happening in real time, streamed and posted and shared across every social media platform. I addressed the crowd one final time. Now I could destroy them completely. I could evict Camila from her home tomorrow. I could dissolve every business, liquidate every asset, leave them with nothing. I have every legal right to do so. Camila looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. But I'm not like you, Camila. I'm not cruel for the sake of cruelty. I retrieved another set of documents from inside my clutch. I am signing the Thompson Manufacturing Company back over to the family, along with sufficient capital to make it profitable again, if you manage it responsibly. Confused murmurs filled the room. There's one condition, I continued. Camila steps down from all positions in all companies permanently. She will receive a modest pension, a small apartment in a respectable neighborhood, and a comfortable life. But she will never control anyone ever again. No positions of power, no board seats, nothing. She'll live well but quietly. Camila's sobs echoed through the ballroom, the queen dethroned. Then I turned to my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband. As for you, Oliver, he looked at me with something akin to hope in his eyes. Idiot. I loved you, I said simply. I really did. I would have built an empire with you. We could have combined our family's resources, created something extraordinary together. But you chose her every single time. You chose her comfort over my dignity. You allowed your mother to abuse me, humiliate me, break me down piece by piece, and you said nothing. You did nothing. Elizabeth, I'm sorry. These divorce papers? I held up the box. I'm signing them. I retrieved a pen and signed my name with a flourish. But you get nothing. No alimony, no settlement. Actually, remember that prenuptial agreement your mother insisted I sign? The one that stipulated I would receive nothing if we divorced? Well, it works both ways. And since all of the Thompson assets are now technically mine, the prenup dictates that any dissipation of marital assets requires compensation. Oliver's face turned ashen. What does that mean? It means you owe me money, Oliver. For every instance your mother spent Thompson money that was actually borrowed against assets I now own. For every dollar used to plan this elaborate humiliation party. For every lavish gift she lavished upon you using credit she didn't possess. I smiled. Don't worry, I'm waiving it. I don't need your money. I never did. I just need you out of my life. I descended from the stage and handed him the signed divorce papers. Congratulations on your freedom, Oliver. I hope you use it to finally grow a spine. The crowd parted as I walked towards the exit. Some people were crying, others were applauding. Camila sat slumped in her chair, utterly destroyed, her empire of cruelty collapsing around her. Oliver stood frozen, holding divorce papers he had never wanted, but had been too weak to refuse his mother. As I reached the door, Camila found her voice one last time. You can't do this. This is my life's work. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you. I paused at the doorway and looked back at her one final time. Try it, Camila. I own your lawyers too. Then I walked out into the night air, leaving behind the Thompson family, their debts, their drama, and their dysfunction. The red dress I wore caught the moonlight as I stepped into my car. Not the modest sedan I had been driving, but my actual car, a sleek, silver Mercedes that had been awaiting me, along with my real life. That was 6 months ago. Camila now resides in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. She works part-time at a charity shop, actually helping people for once in her life. I hear she's quieter now, humbler. Perhaps humiliation taught her what years of wealth and power never could. Empathy. Oliver moved across the country. He secured a job at a regular company, no family connections, no trust fund to cushion his fall. Someone informed me that he's in therapy now, finally confronting his mother issues. I hope he finds peace. I genuinely do. I hope he finds someone who makes him happy and that he learns to stand up for them. As for me, I publicly revealed my identity after that night. No more hiding, no more pretending. I assumed my rightful place at Hartford Technologies, working alongside my father. We integrated the Thompson Manufacturing Company into our portfolio, saved over 500 jobs, and made it profitable within 4 months. I established a foundation for women escaping toxic relationships, women who've been made to feel insignificant, worthless, controlled by people who are supposed to love them. We provide legal aid, financial assistance, counseling, job training. Everything I wish I'd had during that harrowing year, we now provide to others. And you know what? I'm happy. Genuinely, truly happy. I found authentic friends who value me for who I am. I found purpose in my work. I found peace in standing up for myself. Occasionally, people ask me if I harbor any regrets, if perhaps I went too far. But here's the thing, Camila didn't just harm me. She was cruel to her staff, to business partners, to anyone she deemed beneath her. She'd been dismantling lives for decades. I didn't destroy her. I merely took away her ability to destroy others. The ultimate revenge isn't cruelty. It's not sinking to their level or becoming the monster they tried to mold you into. The ultimate revenge is strategic, surgical, and ultimately about safeguarding yourself and others from future harm. Camila attempted to break me at that anniversary party. She believed she was bringing my story to a close, discarding me like trash in front of everyone who mattered. Instead, she brought an end to her own reign of terror. And that smile I bestowed upon her when she presented me with those divorce papers, that was the moment I knew I had already won. She simply hadn't realized it yet. So here's the lesson I learned. Never mistake someone's silence for weakness. Never mistake their kindness for stupidity. And never, ever underestimate a quiet woman who has been pushed too far. Because sometimes that quiet woman is a billionaire playing chess while you're still playing checkers. And by the time you realize the game has changed, it's already checkmate.